Well, hello. I thought we may take today's lecture outside, if you will. Earlier today, I wrote an article, published that on a few different outlets, Medium and LinkedIn, I believe, and it focused on innovative marketing in the modern era for HVAC businesses, which is what I'm beginning to specialize in by writing email newsletters for HVAC businesses. And there's some common things that I've come to expect when speaking with an owner. And I just want to kind of share the outline of this article with you. One of them is this. All these owners believe, well, I should say probably all of you, because you're probably an owner if you're watching this, HVAC business owner, all of you believe that you know what your main problem is. And I hear the common refrain, oh, I can't get any labor. Oh, I can't find good labor. Nobody wants to work. I can't raise my prices on my customer but inflation's eating me on the underside, and I'm starting to get squeezed out concerning my profit margins. I hear all that. But your root issue is not any one of those. Those are just symptoms of a larger problem. And that problem is this. Nobody knows who you are. They don't. And I know you're going to say, well, Jonathan, I have 13,000 impressions per week on Facebook, or I have 7 billboards across town, or I sponsor the local baseball team or the local football team. Everybody knows my last name. Well, if you truly believe that, here is my challenge to you, and I wrote this in this article. What I want you to do is I want you to take a pen and paper, and I want you to stand outside of a Walmart within 30 miles of your town. Go to your hometown Walmart if you can, and you set up a little booth just like you're a Girl Scout selling cookies, and you ask everybody that walks by, who would they call for HVAC service repair? And if they say your business, give yourself a tally mark. If they say they don't know, put that in another tally mark, which is not you. Basically, there's only 2 categories, you and not you. And not you could be they don't know, not you could be your competitor, not you could be their Uncle Jeff, whoever it is. There's you and there's not you. And you'll be surprised that even if the ones that do say you, ask them the follow-up question, how would you contact me? They won't know that. They won't. They won't know what your website is. They won't know that you're on Facebook or Fakebook or LinkedIn. They won't know any of that. People don't know who you are. Because if they knew who you are, if you were truly known, you would get the best technicians. You would be able to raise your prices because you would still have customers coming to you. Best known equals best of everything else. It beats it. So, like I said, your problem is no one knows who you are. Now, how do you fix that in today's modern era? And, traditional advertising still works. Direct mail still works. One of the things that I often tell people, don't shy away from direct mail. Even though I am doing email newsletters, if I have a client want to do direct mail for a side project, I wholeheartedly encourage them to do so. EDDM is a great avenue for that. You got to think the average U.S. citizen receives 147 emails per day. They only receive 3 pieces of mail in their mailbox. One of those you're going to be less crowded in. So, now that's not to say that email is not good. I believe email is great. But direct mail is great too. So traditional advertising still works. But concerning your digital advertising, you're going to have to start looking at things with a little bit different lens. It's not an and or. It's just a bunch of and. You're going to have to start adding stuff to it. Now, sadly, you're in 2025, 2026, whenever you're watching this. You live in a world where all these companies are catching on, and the attention for everyone is up for grabs. And they have these little computers in their pocket, and they're just addicted to them. Dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And everyone is vying for the attention of these consumers because we live in a consumer economy. We as Americans are consumers. That's one of the reasons these tariffs are getting such a bad rap in the news, is because, oh no, we may actually be forced to build factories and make stuff. We don't want to do that. We just want to consume. We'd rather just make content instead of actual stuff. side note there. But all the attention is up for grabs. You're having to compete with not the HVAC owner across town, but you're having to compete against Coca-Cola, porn, cigarettes, TV shows. People only have so much attention and so much time, and you're having to compete. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, I have a website. Well, that's great. I have several websites. Doesn't mean jack squat. Why did you build a website? We were told 20 years ago that you must have a website to be relevant. If you don't have a website, you're a loser. Just like we were told you got to go to college. You know, if you don't go to college, you're not going to amount to anything. You'll starve, and your family will be destitute in the woods wearing animal skin. The website does nothing unless you make it do something. And having people get there is difficult as well. So think about this for a moment. What's the purpose of your website? If you built it just because you're buying into the same ideology that we all must have a website, it's the year 2000, GoDaddy.com's running some good Super Bowl commercials, I need a website, and you just built one, and you ain't updated in 10 years, and I'm pretty sure your website's not doing a whole lot for you. Number one, if you're an HVAC business owner, people need to know your phone number and your email, and that's about it. That's how they contact you. They're not going to drive to your place. They're not going to send you a letter. They're going to call you, and they're going to say, my stuff be broke, please come help. I can't get no good air. So why did you build your website? A website's true purpose is very limited, and it can be any one of the following, but your website needs to be doing at least one of these, if not all four. It needs to be educating your customer as to what you do and as to why they should hire you. It needs to be generating and capturing leads for you. It needs to be a place where they can find contact information. And beyond that, if it's not doing those things, it's pretty much worthless. It's a waste of domain space and waste of everything else. Now, one other thing I want to say about websites before we move on is this. Your website should be really simple. I know the trend right now is to have a nice flashy website with big pictures. Take up the full screen and they scroll and everything's beautiful, and then you just have some like little bullet points. Ooh, 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 little bullet points, just decorating it. That does nothing to bring a transaction onto your ledger, because the consumer looks at that, oh wow, a picture. They know nothing more than they did before they got onto your website. You haven't helped them at all. You haven't explained to them why they're hiring you or anything else. Your website needs to be very minimal. It needs to have all the core information. It needs to say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how you contact me. You should contact me rather than somebody else. And all your objections and questions that you may have, here's an entire section. Listen to those. Go over here. And anything you may have an objection about, I'm going to answer it right now. That's it. And then you need to have a way to capture their email address or phone number. So if you basically a JavaScript or a database or something to pull those things in, and WordPress does that pretty well. So whatever you need to do to build that, that's great. But otherwise, your website needs to be very minimal. It does not need to be, listen to me, and here's an example I used in the article. Have you ever went to look up a recipe? I mean, really, you just need to cook some chicken, and chicken parmesan. You try to pull up a chicken parm recipe, and you get 48,000 different ads and graphics, and you finally got to the part that actually has ingredients list, and all of a sudden, nope, something jumps in front of it, and it moves out of the way. And do not let your website turn into that. Be the opposite of that. Do not be part of web bloat culture. Very simple. Probably HTML with just a little bit of JavaScript and a little CSS could get you by. Very simple website. Now, where you should be spending your money is on some other technologies. So I love and hate my technology at the same time, but there's some nice technologies out there for service providers, home service providers, contractors, irrigation, HVAC, fence contractors, whoever it is, where when you schedule a service call with a client, your technician logs into their iPad in their truck and says, I'm on the way, ETA, and you're constantly giving them updates throughout the day. That way they know this guy is showing up at between 3 and 4 p.m. today, and all of a sudden he gets a thing, I'm going to be there at 3:38. This helps build trust with the client before you get there. And it helps remove their anxiety because they're already anxious about the size of the bill. They don't know what's going on. They don't know how bad the repair is going to be. Alleviate some of their anxiety before you get there and have them trust you. And if you purchase or subscribe to one of these software providers that do these types of services for your technicians, that's really going to help your rapport with your customer when your technician gets there. You give the technician a little bit of sales training and a little bit of training on how to speak with the customer, coupled with this software right here, and you're going to have yourself an opportunity to do a little upselling if you so wish. Because let's be honest, you get there and you have to repair a relay or something else, and sometimes these relays $200 or $300. The customer's thinking, gosh, that's very expensive. But if they already trust you and know that you have their best interests at heart and you value their time, they're more likely to have less objections, and those transactions, those service calls will go a lot smoother. And if you can integrate testimonials into that same software, that's even better. So do that. Now, there's a couple other points I touched on in the article, but I'll go ahead and start closing this up. This video is getting a little bit long. Community outreach. So I know many of you like to do community outreach, sponsor the local football team, baseball team, whatever else. And you think by having a banner out there on the 50-yard line or having a big giant canvas banner on the local baseball team's diamond that you're going to somehow gain customers. You're not. If you want to sponsor them simply because you want to sponsor them, that's great. If you think you're going to get any type of business leads from that, you are wasting your money, and stop doing it. Where you should be focusing your efforts, and I'm going to keep preaching this, is referral programs. Your referral programs need to be multifaceted. It needs to be documented. It needs to be well thought out. It needs to be with different types of individuals. So you need to have a referral program that you use with other contractors and home service providers, real estate agents, what have you. You need to have a separate referral program that you use for past clients. And you need to hammer that referral program every chance you get. You can live off referrals if you do it right. Now, I know many of you say, well, we've been living off word of mouth for 27 years. And that's also why you haven't grown any, because the word of mouth is working for you, but it's only working for you up to a point. A bad word of mouth travels too. And since your word of mouth or your referral system is unstructured, you have no control over it. And because you have no control over it, you can't turn up the dial. Because you can't turn up the dial, your revenue is not growing. There's going to be an opportunity perhaps in the future, or there's going to be a problem perhaps in the future where you need to turn up the revenue, even if you don't want to. But you're going to have to get over some sort of a problem. And because you don't have control over your marketing, because it's all word of mouth here in good old Bubba land, it ain't going to be there. If you have it documented, if you have it structured, then you can turn up the dial, and that's what you want. One last thing, and I'm going to close. It's getting long. Customer service. I wrote this little exercise in here. I'm going to give it to you as well. Your customer service and the way your clients treat the customer, or the way your technicians treat the customer, is going to be very critical to your success. Now, you can buy pre-purchased or packaged programs that describe on how to do all this, and you can read books and what have you, but you're an adult. Life experience is the best teacher, and I'm going to tell you what I would do if I were in your position. I would sit down and I'd get a pen and paper, get in a quiet place, and I'd really think about, what is the best, 4 or 5 customer experiences that I've ever had as a customer, where I really thought I was taken care of. I really thought somebody went above and beyond. I was more than pleased, more than happy. In fact, I felt as though I wish I could have done more when it came to spending with this person that was selling me something. Write down those experiences. What did you feel how were you handled? How were you treated? What did they say or do that made you think they actually care? They are an artist at the sales profession. I enjoy being sold to by this person, because we've all had those experiences. Even the most curmudgeon among us have had that. I've historically not liked to be sold stuff, but even I can tell you about going down to a certain men's clothing store and buying a nice suit or a nice blazer and being treated very well, and really felt like I was taken care of. And at the end of the transaction, I felt like buying more. That's a good experience. You need to write those experiences down, and then borrow or steal, or however you want to do it, everything that they did and implement that in your own business. Because humans are humans, no matter where they are or what century they're in. We all feel and think the same way to a degree, okay? And you can utilize that to your advantage. So that's kind of the gist of the article I wrote this morning. So hopefully that helps somebody. Thank you for joining me outside. I think I'm going to do more videos out here. This is quite lovely. And hope to see you soon. All right, be sure you can always visit me at measurableadvertising.com. If you have any needs concerning marketing, or especially if you are a HVAC business owner and you're wanting someone to ghostwrite email newsletters to your clients to where you don't have to touch anything, I can take care of that for you. So I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.